Hey there, Virgo. I'm Isaac. Welcome to my channel. We're going to get into your reading for September 2024. And to start out, we'll just rewind just a little bit and go back into August because during August, Mercury was in retrograde, and it's actually August 17th as I'm recording this video right now, so I'm a little ahead of time. And Mercury is currently still in retrograde. And since you're a Virgo and Mercury rules over Virgo, you're going to feel this a little more directly than some other people. And for you, I'm picking up kind of a sense of caution. You're being very careful and kind of double checking and like triple checking details of things, not necessarily because you're afraid of making just general mistakes, but I think this specifically revolves around your relationships, whether that be family, friends, romantic, whatever it is. Because I feel like I'm getting the sense from, especially with this Lilith and Juno and Venus all conjunct down here, makes me think that you've been taken advantage of before, probably financially specifically, or with just like your belongings, your resources in general. Maybe you've been, Virgos tend to be pretty generous. You guys do like to be helpful when you can, or even just, to just not even just be helpful, just to be nice and just like you're just you're generous. But this can sometimes get taken advantage of by people, particularly the people closest to you, family members, partners who maybe you haven't, who might be somewhat toxic and maybe you don't know it right away. Family, like siblings, parents, that kind of stuff. Um, so you're being really cautious, and these people who it's like you're trying to figure out how to know exactly when somebody's trying to take advantage of you and when you want to do something with your money or with your whatever resources based on what you want to do. And really, the easiest way to do that would be to look at Chiron here being in opposition along with the North Node, in opposition to this conjunction we were talking about. Really, what we're looking at here is if there's any kind of guilt involved, if somebody's trying to make you feel bad, or if you feel like you will feel bad if you don't do something, that's a good chance that you're being taken advantage of. You're being manipulated. Um, it's really that simple. And if you feel excited about doing something because that's just because and you just feel good about it, you want to do something, that's probably more genuine. That's you. That's the North Node. And so the North Node, oops, let me get rid of all these lines here. The North Node right here represents kind of where the universe is pushing you. It's kind of encouraging you to go. Being in that first decadent of Aries in the eighth house, um, it is really just suggesting that you do what you want to do when it comes to this sort of stuff. Whether eighth house can be the house of other people's money, or the act of giving other people money. It's kind of both. It's like it's like loans or borrowing money, or just getting gifts or whatever, among many other things. But in this context, that's kind of what's jumping out at me. Um, and this can work with, like, if you're feeling somebody's trying to give you something and you feel guilty about taking it because you feel like you're going to make them feel bad even though you don't want this particular thing. It might not be manipulation, but it's still kind of this thing where it's fueled by guilt. Anything that is fueled by guilt, or like if you don't do this then you're going to feel bad because someone else isn't going to have whatever, that's technically not your problem. You might feel like it is. Maybe you had parents that taught you to feel that way, that you need to be responsible for other people's emotions. And one of the best ways to make people feel better is to give them stuff. Um, but if that's coming from a place of, I want to do this because I like this person, or because it somehow benefits me in some way, or both as a mutually beneficial, that's one thing. But when it's rooted in, if I don't do this, I'm going to feel bad. I'm going to feel like a bad person. That's that's manipulation always. It's so if you're looking to try to figure out how to know when somebody's taking advantage of you and whether or not you should do something, just pay attention to how you feel. Do you feel guilty if you don't do it, or do you feel excited about doing it? Or you can, and if you don't do it, then whatever. That's a good way to kind of tell. And with Saturn in retrograde in your seventh house in Pisces here, you're probably learning things about certain people in your life where you had certain set preconditioned ideas about who they were. And then as you spend time with them, you start to realize that maybe some of these assumptions that were built in your mind are not actually true. Um, these could be people you've known for a long time, since that's kind of Saturn tends to be with long term sort of things, and can also, in some cases, can represent the father. Maybe in some people's cases, this is a parent parental thing, or maybe you're realizing that if we're going with the parental thing, maybe with Saturn here, you're redrawing different boundaries, a different understanding of the father figure, and then with the mother figure, you might be realizing, with being in the 12th house for this reading, that could signify that maybe the feminine figure kind of just stayed in the background and like didn't really contribute to anything negative, but like didn't really stop the other person from doing anything negative. Um, Now that's not, obviously not going to apply to everybody. This is a general reading, but that can sometimes be something that could represent. And in September, with Mercury in your 12th house, it'll only be in the 12th house for a little while because that Mercury retrograde ends, and then it'll start moving forward and go back through Virgo again, through its direct motion. But right about in the beginning parts of the month, you might be feeling like you want to you're holding back. You're not saying things that you might feel like you want to say, or maybe feel like you're observing things, but you're not really talking about them. Maybe, I really just get the sense that you're figuring out that somebody in your life is not who you kind of thought they were, and that maybe they kind of take advantage of you a lot, and it's kind of, and maybe this is somebody you've known for a long time, and it's kind of feeling like the rug's been pulled out from under you because somebody who was maybe a fixture in your life for a long time turns out they're not who you actually thought they were, and it just causes this whole like, well, what else was I wrong about? What else do I not know about this person? It's just, and there'd be a bit of confusion and anxiety, and it can kind of hurt. And I think that might be where this cautiousness might be coming from, that I've been picking up on since the beginning of this reading. Somebody who maybe uses your self worth as a handhold to try to control you. And maybe you thought that that person cared about you for a long time. Maybe you thought what they were doing was out of love, and then you find out what they're doing is actually just kind of manipulative and selfish. Um, and maybe one of the reasons you're not talking, you're not speaking up about certain things, and if we're going along with this scenario that I'm seeing in here with this person, maybe one of the reasons you're not speaking up is because you know that you have a certain way of speaking where like you can eviscerate somebody if you, without really even meaning to, just by pointing out what you view as the truth, just pointing out what you see as the truth from your own perspective. Another person might find that like crushing, and you're probably aware that you have that ability, so you're trying, and you don't particularly want to do that because you don't enjoy causing people pain. But in some situations, if you have to speak up and you have to say something, I mean, if telling the truth is going to cause somebody to have a mental breakdown or a meltdown, maybe they needed to hear that. You don't have to be brutal about it, but that's the thing about the truth, especially if you're telling the truth about something that somebody is doing and they don't realize that they're doing it, or they're in denial that they're doing it. They're going to overreact. They're going to freak out. They're going to act like you just stabbed them in the heart, even though all you really did was point out behavior as objective way as you could. Um, with Jupiter here in the 10th house, along with Mars, this is pretty unrelated, but I think that maybe, it's like you're doing well. Maybe it's not unrelated now, actually, as I look at this. Maybe it's not unrelated at all. Maybe it's very visible that you're doing well. And that might kind of, oh man, and it makes a square here to Saturn. You see that little red line going from Jupiter to Saturn? I'll circle Saturn here in case you're not an astrologer. That little red line in the middle of the circle there, that's a square. That's kind of a negative energy, a negative connection between these two planets. So I'm going to go ahead and just continue on with this scenario that I've been illustrating here. Somebody, you become aware that somebody in your life, possibly a father figure or some kind of fixture, somebody who's been around for a while, you start to realize maybe they're not who you think they are. and that causes it's kind of it's causing a lot of emotional distress for you because it's you've had the rug pulled out from under you in a way, and you start to realize this person uses guilt to manipulate you into doing things for them, possibly giving them money, because when they see that you're doing well, it makes them jealous. And you would think that this person, based on who you thought they were, they would be happy for you, that they care about you, they love you, they want you to be doing well. But when you start to do well, they feel like you're outshining them, and they start making you feel guilty. They start tearing you down. They start trying to convince you to give them things and give them money. And if you don't do it, you're a bad person, and all this kind of stuff. Um, and it's getting under your skin. You're catching on to it, and you're maybe even realizing times where this person's done this to you in the past, and it's starting to get frustrating. And your frustration is becoming visible with Mars here in the 10th house in Gemini. It's like you're not you're slowly starting to not hold back those things that you're noticing and that you want to say. And the more you hold it back, the more kind of frustrated you get, and the more visibly frustrated you get, and the way your kind of your tone of voice, being in Gemini there, Mars and Gemini, your tone of voice maybe starts to change, and they start to pick up on it, and then they start, uh, and then it kind of maybe starts causing some conflicts because they kind of recognize that you're starting to catch on to their game, and that's when they start trying to tear you down even more. So this is not a prediction. This is not something I'm saying is gonna happen. I'm saying this is something that's probably been happening for a long time, and you're figuring it out. Um, Let me see here. So let me just take a look at a few things in this chart. So another thing kind of jumped out at me, kind of related to what we were already talking about. So another scenario here, maybe. So you're interested in like the spiritual. You're becoming more and more interested in those sorts of things like astrology, meditation, magic, tarot, just metaphysical kind of stuff. Your own spiritual development and finding inner peace and happiness. You're interested in those things. Maybe you're wanting to pursue those more, but then I'm kind of seeing like with Pluto here in retrograde, moving into Aquarius from Capricorn, you're going from a more pragmatic sort of, uh, well, the fifth house is enjoyment and fun. So it's like maybe in the past, the things you really enjoyed having things be very solid and pragmatic and predictable. And you're moving slowly into this more open, unpredictable, sort of exciting sort of way of exploring things. It's like what you do for fun or what you find to be fun is changing. And then again, we have that grand trine here where this is connected to Uranus in retrograde in your ninth house, where you're feeling like, maybe in the past, like you feel like you need to, this isn't necessarily true, but maybe you feel like you need to catch up. Like you feel like you've fallen behind in the philosophical, kind of metaphysical, spiritual world. Of course, you haven't actually, because it's just not really how that works. You can't fall behind. It's your process. But you might be feeling that way. So you're feeling maybe this motivation to kind of really want to work on yourself on that level a little more. But then, maybe you want to go like on a meditation retreat or something along those lines, some kind of workshop, or there's something interesting you. And again, with this down here, that's probably going to make you want to have to spend some money. And then all of a sudden this person that we've been talking about, who has this sort of lack of personal regard for personal boundaries, starts looking at you and saying, you want to go spend money on this? Oh, that's kind of expensive, well, that's okay. Just do what you want. I'll just sit here by myself. And, I don't really have this and that, and I could really use some money, but, you go ahead, you go do whatever you want. And then you start to feel bad about it. And then you're just like, fuck, should I do? Should I not do this? Am I a bad person for wanting to go spend money and time on myself? Or, uh, or is this person kind of manipulating me? Or is this, what am I supposed to do here? And obviously, I can't tell you what to do, but it does. If you resonate with this and this situation is happening to you, my suggestion is just do what you want and don't worry about them and let them bitch and moan and complain, because they're going to do that anyways. They're going to just keep finding things, because the real problem is that they are insecure. They have a lack of emotional boundaries. They have a lack of regard, a lack of empathy, and they don't like seeing you do well. And you going and working on yourself and spiritually, like, working on becoming happier in the present moment. Oh God, that's like, they can't handle that. They don't want to see you do that. They're already jealous of whatever else you've got going on. And then you start becoming more just generally happy, like genuinely happy. And the better you do, the more uncomfortable this person gets, and the more they keep trying to basically to hurt your feelings, to get you to do what they want instead of do what you want. And that sucks. I'm sorry you have to. If this is you, I'm sorry you have to go through that. It's kind of a more common experience than one might think, unfortunately. But the main, I think, the if there was any advice I were to give out of this from this reading, it would be to say, screw you, I'm going to do what I want, and not feel bad about it. Not feel like focusing on you is selfish, because it's not. Who's more selfish? The person who wants to go and do something for themselves, or the person who gets mad at you for wanting to do something for yourself because they want you to do things for them? Who's more selfish there? I think it's pretty obvious. So, don't let these people, whoever they may be, manipulate you, tell you what to do, tell you who you are. If they get nasty, and they probably know how to poke your buttons too. With Saturn in the seventh house, it's like they probably know kind of how you work. They know what buttons to push to get you to do what they want you to do, but it might not work anymore. And be forewarned, when you stop giving, when you catch on to that, and you notice when they're trying to push your buttons, and then you don't let it affect you, get ready for them to freak out. Um, Things might blow up, because that's going to trigger their fear of a lack of control, and that's going to make them feel threatened, and they're going to project that onto you. So just fair warning: if you just when you do decide to stand up for yourself to this person, they're not going to they're not going to just accept it. They're going to get upset, and they're going to try even harder to get under your skin. And this could lead, in some situations, this could lead to a parting of ways. Um, when you finally expose who this person is, and then they know that they can't affect you anymore because you've been exposed, their first inclination is probably just get you as far away from them as possible. And if that happens, good. That's for the best. It might be a difficult transition. It might be painful emotionally, because maybe you have attachments to this person, but ultimately this is going to be much for the better. So, anyways, I know this got kind of specific and isn't going to apply to every single Virgo who watches this video, but that's kind of what I see here. So if you want to get a private reading, I do offer natal charts and tarot card readings. My email is in the description down below. Hit the like and subscribe button and the bell notification if you like these videos, if you want to see more of them. Leave comments, because this is a new channel and I need all any interaction the channel gets is going to help things grow. So thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you again soon. Take care.